And George wanted to hear Econ Breakfast's comment, which is too small for my eyesight. Please take that into consideration. Okay. Hi, this is Nick Lee Econ Breakfast commenting on some video, I don't know which one. Hi, this and many of your other videos about me, I'm not going to watch these, and I find this incredibly disturbing. I made myself clear for weeks that I mean you no harm and am not targeting or trolling you, but I'm also not your friend, your frenemy, or anything. I'm a complete stranger you've glommed onto, made bizarre assumptions about, gone between flattering and defaming. You've apparently conveyed multiple serious false reports about me to police departments and government agencies, e.g., the FBI, and tried to convince your lawyer and other parties to deplatform me, sue me, imprison me, institutionalize me, while not addressing your own mental health issues, judging from your conduct. Even ostracize me from my own city based on lies. I'm not sure if you believe what you're saying about me doing everything from running a botnet to harass many vulnerable people into mental health crises to being everything phobic to targeting you specifically for anti-NGO style beatdowns, but absolutely none of this is true. As I've said many times, I can easily and will happily prove so in court, as I've been doing on Twitter. That's been to no avail. No, I'm not going to unblock you so you can spam me with more ats on Twitter with personal information I don't want to know and or more ridiculous allegations. You've been trying to convince not just authorities, but people you've deemed my friends that I'm everything from a violent trans misogynist to a sociopathic sexual predator for what? Documenting the relentless lies, threats, and harassment, much of it hateful, sexual, transphobic, ableist, and otherwise bigoted, coming from a man you've seemingly befriended. That's self-described journalist and activist Brandon Michael Farley, now Farley Media on Twitter. He knows what he's done, and I know what I've done, and I've documented all of it, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I wish he'd take responsibility for his. Also, stop trying to incite violence against me. I don't find that the sexual harassment, the extreme hatred he's shown toward me and others, any of what he's done hilarious as he does. If you do, if you've been acting in bad faith here and are not just very confused, I'm disgusted, and I've been far too kind. If not, I've been as kind as I can be, given the awful circumstances. None of this is about your identity or politics. It's about the choices you are making. Farley's behavior, and now yours, is abusive, whether you've been able to recognize that or not. Mental illness may be a reason, but it's not an excuse. I'm not using it or aspects of my identity as an excuse for my behavior. Reminder, it's not defamation if it's true. Farley still can't even bring himself to admit that I, a man, would never voluntarily touch him, and hasn't done so, broke into his home to rape him multiple times. If he believes that happened, he's delusional. That's not an insult, just a statement of fact. See Econ Breakfast, econbrkfst on Twitter for extensive documentation. Again, I don't want any contact with you, Ang, at Brain Garbage, unless it is in a court to address the many serious false accusations you've made and the smear campaign you're apparently participating in with Brandon Michael Farley at Farley Media. This is a man who's spent the last many months trying to ruin my life and is currently celebrating the 16 months until someone comes and harms or kills me. So he's rid of me forever. He's made terrorist threats he excuses as jokes. And when he's told that his sexual harassment and threats aren't funny to others, he doubles down and lies about his actions, refuses to take responsibility. If you defend that, if you want to befriend him, okay, leave me out of it. Okay, what do you think, George? 6 minutes. Oh, you wanted to know what he said in his statement. So evidently I've relapsed Econ Breakfast, who blocks. But this is his latest thing. I guess this is like 4 minutes ago or something. 1 hour ago. And I don't have to block his statement on my account, or I could. I mean, you can host whatever you want on your account. You don't have to. Whew. Okay, well, I thought it was more suitable for a long format conversation. So, George, this is like the post-economy lunch, economy breakfast relapse. We could just call it economy breakfast relapse, econ breakfast relapse. Well, okay, for one thing, I've counseled against any 16-month threatening behind the scenes. Knowing what I do behind the scenes, econ breakfast would mean that you're psychic, and I don't ask you to be psychic. I'm glad to know it's not about my politics or my identity, because I felt that those were being put on trial. Because I do, don't want to be defamed by association, as I felt that econ was trying to insinuate a lot of things. And then econ, I think, from a security operations angle, can't take a hint, and so can't even take a blunt hint or a loud hint in all caps. So in some ways, making any messaging towards econ breakfast will fall on deaf ears. The exclusionary attitude towards my account I do view as misogynistic, as transphobic, as a particular type of transphobia, which would be transmisogyny, or I think there's internalized homophobia going on in the way Nick Lee, Econ Breakfast, bullies Farley. Vice versa, Farley's bullying of Econ, I think, is retaliatory and troubling, to say the least, and was part of why I stepped in. So my actions as a first responder or like a last responder are what are being put on trial, and I don't think Econ Breakfast can assess the progress that is being made, but I would like Econ Breakfast to be assured that understanding and transforming society is something that, I mean, okay, so if the definition of anti-fascism is willing to engage in any kind of tactics to disrupt fascism, for one thing, I wanted to make a film about disrupting fascism as it might arise within so-called anti-fascist movements. Like Econ Breakfast conducts himself like a mini chieftain, sheikh mullah, I'm ruining my own film, like a CEO, an alpha male, a tyrannical despot, an oligarch, a secret police of anti-fascism. And I object to Econ Breakfast's lack of openness and transparency, discourse, and dialogue. So the fascistic closure in the Econ Breakfast cult, which excludes me preemptively when I come in with almost no information, is evident of cult, like a cult awareness network type unpacking. What is going on? Why are you so closed off to outsiders? Why are you so closed off to thought? I don't think you should be afraid of the FBI, Econ Breakfast. Young people are smarter than that. They should be afraid of you. You're very smart, Econ Breakfast. And you shouldn't take yourself so unseriously as to engage in a relentless cyberbullying campaign against a person who is not a demonstrable threat. Your excessive bullying of Farley online is hyperbolic and it's outrageous and absurd. And your obsession with his sexuality is itself sexual harassment. And I think that's why you're really mad at me. So keep being mad at me. I don't care. And I'm not making excuses for bad behavior from your side or his. And I'm not, neither am I responsible. I'm not your nanny. I'm not your Mary Poppins, as much as I could try. Am I your Mary Poppins, George? That's a joke. It's okay to laugh. Yeah. So anyway, that's Econ Breakfast's recent message to me. So I'm doing well. My blood pressure is not too bad. The highs have kind of calmed down. And studying this Twitter, I think Nick Lee has some processing difficulties, and maybe that's good for me to know, and know that that's what we're working with, and that if I say, hey, back off, like I'm looking into things, it's not perceived, and I want the whole brawler culture to be neutralized. That poor fellow who got whatever 23,000, who's getting 10,000 of that into his own pocket for the head injury in the brawl. I want all of that over. I want 0 head injuries on the streets of Portland. And if that means neutralizing anti-fascist militant violence as well as patriot militant violence, that's what I'm all about, and that makes me a peace hippie. And if that's so intimidating to someone like Econ Breakfast, I think Econ Breakfast is trying to have it always. And cozy up to Antifa, maybe targeting. Why am I so targeted? Maybe because the peace hippies, ahimsa, nonviolent path is the most appealing and attractive and transcendent. So maybe that's where that chord resonates. And as for Econ, I think what Econ should do actually is, why don't you apply to victims' compensation regarding the harassment you've experienced and the trauma you felt from those emails that Farley sent to you in retaliation for your home stalking him. And he should apply to victims' compensation with the Oregon Department of Justice for the psychological trauma of you home stalking him, as well as cyber stalking him and digital abuse of him. And then you guys can both use the paperwork once you obtain a bunch of records, go through like 15 sessions and then reapply for another 15, and then use those and go get yourselves some government disability money. And then both of you back off and be better to each other's health. So you could help each other out immensely by making lemonade out of lemons, I guess. Is that good, George? So endlessly boring. It's very boring. Well, at least George is good looking, so I have a little eye candy in my movie. Aren't you, George?